Welcome to another Creative Spin podcast. Today we have, I think, a very interesting show with a very interesting person. I've had the chance to speak with him a few times, and his story is quite inspirational. I think and hope that you guys at home will be inspired as well. I'm here with Anthony Simas, and we've got a lot to talk about. Right?
Yeah.
We do. All right, so let's hit that intro and get right back into the questions. Today's podcast is brought to you by Workplace One, a company offering boutique private offices, co-working spaces, and virtual office solutions, as well as meeting rooms in the best neighborhoods of Toronto and Kitchener-Waterloo. Ideal for entrepreneurs, companies, and passionate business people. Workplace One is where you want to be with your business. For more information, go over to workplaceone.com. Anthony, thank you for swinging by here, our studio / meeting room / where we have the deer. Anthony, it was it was interesting that you touched base with us, and you wanted to know if we were interested in finding out more about you. And after talking to you, it was a must. We had to have you here in the podcast, and I think it was such an eye opener to me to speak to you about the things you've gone through, and to see how you're approaching life, and it's so inspirational to see this. So, instead of me trying to explain the situation, I want you to talk a little bit about who Anthony is.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll have a sip of water before I start all this.
There you go. A little bit of water is always good. So Anthony, tell us.
Yeah. So I think I had a plan, just like everybody does when they're a kid, when they're in high school and all that stuff. I grew up in a regular European household, Portuguese and Italian. I thought that I was
all the good food and
all the good food, as you can see. And my plan was to work in electrical. I was always really good working with my hands. And I didn't want to work in like the super heavy construction like the rest of my family, because they were all broken before they were like 30.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not doing that.
Hard work, man. It's hard work.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'll get into electrical. So I applied to program in grade 12. It's like a dual credit program.
Yeah.
I got my basic in electrical by the time I graduated high school.
Mm-hmm.
So like things are going in a pretty good direction for a 17-year-old kid. I completed a co-op placement for a couple months with a company. They hired me. It was my very first week on payroll, and then I went to the cottage that weekend, and then this happened.
All right, explain to us what it is that
so I have it's called a spinal cord injury. I broke my neck at the C5 level, which we can talk about. We were swimming in a pool up at the cottage, and you guys know those big above ground pools, the ones that have like the bars holding them up.
Oh yeah, the tall ones.
Yeah, there was a deck that like we built like for the pool and all of this stuff, and we were jumping off of this deck into the water. Like any kid. Just like having a good time, you know what I mean? Like we were all just kind of hanging out, having a good time. And it was like one of those things, like we were literally like just about to go home. And for some reason, like I wanted to jump in the water, just like one more time. The deck wasn't even like that high. It was like level with the pool. It was like maybe 4 feet, 3.5 feet. I just remember like walking towards the pool. I remember it being slippery, and then next thing I know, my legs come from underneath me, like super fast. I fell, and I fell like so fast that like in a way that my legs got swept underneath me, and they ended up going up so high that I was kind of like horizontally going down like on my head. Oh, wow. So my feet were higher than my head, if that makes sense, when I slipped.
It's such a quick
yeah,
thing,
like right? It was so quick. And then I just remember feeling an impact, and boom, like next thing I know, I opened my eyes and I was floating face down in the pool. Oof. And a lot of people will tell you, like, when they have a spinal cord injury, if they're conscious throughout the process, you feel like this buzzy feeling. It's like your body's like vibrating. And I felt like this electric shock kind of like hit me. And the doctors always told me that was like the damage being done to my spinal cord. And then I opened my eyes and I was floating face down in the pool. And I thought that was it. I couldn't move. Like, now I can move my arms and all that stuff, but I couldn't move. I couldn't.
So right from the get-go, that was it?
Right from the get-go, yeah, that was it. Like, it was like, boom, like it was gone instantly.
But there was somebody there?
There was someone there, yeah.
Okay.
My cousin was he was right there in the water. I guess, he seen that I wasn't moving. He turned me over. And immediately, like, when he turned me over, like, that was when we knew, like, okay, like, it was something super serious. Like, my voice was really faint. I wasn't making sense with the things that I was saying. And I had, like, no sense of, like, where my body was in space, Like, when people are walking around or sitting on a chair, like, you don't know, but, like, subconsciously, like, your body knows, like, you're sitting on a chair, like, your bottom's against the seat, your feet are on the floor. I had no idea. Like, my leg could have been around my head. I had no idea, like, what was going on. Yeah. And then he pulled me out and got me up onto the deck that I fell off of. And immediately, like, I started freaking. Like, I was crying. I couldn't feel the deck, like, sliding underneath my body,
Wow.
And I was conscious, so I knew it was, like, something really bad, like, something really.
And you were 17,
really
you said, right?
Yeah, I was 17. I knew something really bad happened, like, when we couldn't feel or anything like that. So they call the ambulance. The ambulance comes and they do like a little roadside assessment. Like, they start touching my head. Can you feel this? And they go down my body, and we realized that I couldn't feel or move anything from the collarbone level below. All I could do was shrug my shoulders and just turn my head. So spinal cord procedure, they get you onto something that's called the backboard and neck brace. I don't know if you've ever seen one in, like, the movies or.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
it's just like it's this stiff board. They get you on it to prevent further injury to the spinal cord from happening.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And the plan was.
So this whole process now, then, obviously,
hospital, surgeries, therapy.
How many surgeries were needed?
I did. Like this? I did a total of 3 surgeries. So the initial surgery, when I got to the emergency room, was to relieve the pressure off my spinal cord at the C5 level, which is the 5th vertebrae down from the top of your neck.
Gotcha.
That's what C5 stands for. And that was to relieve the pressure, like, because it can cause further injury. It can make my injuries worse. It could kill you. So they relieve the pressure off the spinal cord, and then they reinforce my neck with screws.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
I mean,
for us, we're in the outside world. That's what I kind of call it now. We don't realize what is involved when something like this happens, right? And all of the issues and the problems that come with all of this stuff.
With spinal cord injury, like.
And then you were telling me also that there are different levels of spinal cord injuries, right? Like, just because you're in a wheelchair, there are different levels of why you're in a wheelchair.
There's different levels to the paralysis. Like me, I'm a quadriplegic technically because I have impairment in all 4 limbs. Obviously, my hands, my arms, and then my legs. The difference between quadriplegic and paraplegic is that a paraplegic has impairment only in their bottom half.
Okay.
Quadriplegic meaning all 4 limbs. But like, there's people that break their necks and they're fine in a couple months, or they're fine from the get-go. They have, they get a neck brace, the surgeon fixes their neck, and their spinal cord remains untouched.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, what causes the actual paralysis is when the neck breaks. The vertebrae most of the time is what damages the spinal cord, because when the alignment shifts, the vertebrae itself would crush the spinal cord or cut it or whatever, and then that's what causes the actual paralysis, the damage to the spinal cord itself.
So after all of this initial phase of hospital operations, all of these things, now we're talking about recovery, going home, taking care of all of this situation. I mean, this is something that, like I said, for most of us, we don't go through this. We were talking just before we started recording. Most of us, we don't even think about this stuff. right?
Yeah.
We go along living our lives, and it's the type of thing that we don't think about. But then all of a sudden something like this happens to either yourself or a family member or a friend, and that's when reality kicks in. And I guess being a young man, not having to rely on other people is a big thing.
Yeah.
Is that something that you're always thriving for, like trying to do things yourself and figuring things out yourself?
You know, like it feels good to do things for myself. I think because like I need so much help, especially in the morning, to like get ready, get dressed, and all that stuff. So like it feels good to do things for myself for sure. Like I don't want to always ask for help. You know what I mean? So it does feel good to do things for myself.
But
sure.
You're the type of guy, you go out, you do what you have to do. You figure things out, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
You're telling me you're Ubering around
everywhere. I'm my super hardcore wheelchair user. I guess I take this thing everywhere, man.
Yeah, that thing apparently it can go for how long? Were you saying?
Yeah, one time we were talking about the other day. I wheeled for like over an hour and a half straight.
Oof.
Yeah, like I went from my doctor's office home, and I still had like plenty of battery. On a full charge, it lasts about a day and a half, 2 days.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good. Yeah.
I guess the only downside to that is when the winter comes around.
Yeah, winters are super tough, man.
Yeah,
like,
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Like, especially when people don't clean their sidewalks. People clean your sidewalks.
Man. Yeah, guys, if anyone's watching this podcast, you better clean your sidewalks.
Let's all go there and. Okay, I'm not gonna threaten anybody. But yeah, I mean that's you see, and here we go. I think a lot of people don't realize this, right?
Yeah.
Like when you see the snow outside and you go, you know what? I'm not gonna clean it now. I'm gonna leave it for later. Why? Whatever. I don't think most people are thinking about people in your situation that need to have a sidewalk cleared, like, because you can't go by.
The winter even like gets to a point sometimes where I'll just jump off the sidewalk and go on the street because there's no snow. Like I can wheel freely. You know what I mean?
I've actually seen a lot of people do that. Yeah,
it's impossible.
And I get it. I get
like
it.
what else do? You know what I mean? You got to get somewhere. You got to do what you got to do, right?
Exactly.
But the worst part even is that when the snow plows come by. When they plow the snow, you know how it leaves like the
big mountains,
and I'm stuck on the sidewalk.
Wow. And these are things that I don't know if if the city is thinking about these particular situations when they tell them to just go clean the roads and do this. These snowplowers, they should really, I don't know if they have to educate them to do something different, or
like in the parks and like the bigger establishments. Most of them will shovel the ramp areas, but a lot of times they're not. You know, a lot of times they're not, especially in the little residential areas. None of the ramps are cleared.
Yeah.
Ever. And even like for an accessible van where they have the ramp on the side of the van, they can't even put it on the sidewalk.
Yeah, because sometimes unfortunately,
because when the snow
piles
comes by, the pile's so big.
Yeah, they're getting pretty big. Yeah.
So my house and my sidewalk is like the only sidewalk on the street where my brother and my dad, they'll clear that ridge and just kind of throw it on the street, or so I can come and go freely when I have to.
And what about in general, like not only wintertime, but I'm thinking more in terms of accessibility in the city. In this case, in our city here in Toronto, what's your take on that? Like, are we improving? Is it showing signs of improvement? Or do you think that there should be a lot more to be?
I think honestly,
done?
I think there should be. I think it's came quite a long way, but I think there's still a long way to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially being like a young guy, 23, 24, like going out with friends, doing the bars and stuff like that. It's like impossible to find like a wheelchair accessible like nightclub or bar. It's really hard, and a lot of times like even like when you call. Like I usually try and call ahead of time just for the sake of making things easier for everybody. A lot of people don't even really understand. It's like, hey, like I use a wheelchair. Like, are you guys accessible? And they're like, yeah, we're accessible. Come by. And I get there and there's like a 6-inch threshold that and it's like, you can't go in,
Yeah.
But I'm pretty lucky. I got a really good group of friends around me that help me a lot. And usually if there's places that I can't get into, we'll just go somewhere else. Or a lot of times my buddies have carried me in.
Yeah.
They've just carried the
It's
chair.
interesting. I was listening to a radio show, I think it was last week that they were talking about this, because John Tory, our mayor, he was in a little bit of a situation where I think he had an operation to one of his feet.
Yeah.
And he was struggling going around, and it kind of brought up brought a little bit more awareness to the situations of accessibility in this city. Hopefully that will also help people see that we need to open our eyes to that side of things.
Yeah, hopefully. Like, that's even why I Uber so much too, because like I don't like taking the bus anyways. But like even a lot of the subway stations aren't wheelchair accessible. Like now they're going back and installing elevators and ramps and stuff like that, because when they did it years ago, they never thought that maybe someone in a wheelchair is gonna, needs to get around or gonna take the train. A lot of the stations still aren't wheelchair accessible, so.
But you don't let the wheelchair stop you. You keep going. You got so much on the go. It's kind of crazy, and this is where you've inspired me quite a bit, just by the times that we spoke, and just to see how much stuff you're doing, how many plans you have. I mean,
thank you.
Want to share a couple of these plans so that these people can go like, oh my God.
Yeah, no, for sure. So when I first got hurt, I was 17, 18. It's not like I had a bunch of money saved up. I was on government assistance for the first couple years, and it's not a way to live a life, like not for me anyways, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I wanted so much more, and like I knew that I was capable of so much more than that, Like just because I lost my legs doesn't mean I'm not capable of providing for myself.
Exactly.
It's not like, especially now in today's day and age with internet and business and stuff like that, you don't need to work a 9 to 5 to have money or to be successful, So I kind of went back to school. I studied finance online a little bit, and then I got in touch with some big traders and stuff like that, and took some private courses through them. And I learned and worked in the stock market daily. I kind of kept my head down and grinded for a couple of years until I saved enough money to where the banks and stuff could actually like work with me. Mm-hmm. And then I know some people that have done well in real estate, so I thought maybe I can invest in real estate as well.
Because of course Anthony goes, let's do this.
Yeah, so I go, let's do this. Like I got nothing to lose. Like I'm at home. Like if something goes wrong, it's not like I'm not gonna have a place to go.
So what did you come up with? What was the big idea here?
So I came up with a good chunk of change to put a down payment, and went to the bank, seeing what I was able, to work with. So I knew that I didn't want to invest in Toronto because it was super expensive.
A little bit.
Yeah. So like if anyone's watching this, if you guys are from Toronto, you guys know how expensive property is here, and I wasn't going to invest $700,000-$800,000 in a house just to knock it down and build a new one.
Yeah,
it's way too much money. So I have a rental property in Bradford already, and I figured that passive income would be the best kind of thing for someone like me. So after I had my hands on the rental property for a couple of years, I kind of had some equity. I had a little bit of leverage now, so I was able to use that leverage and get another property. With the money that I was already making.
Yeah.
So I got my hands on a vacant lot in Innisfil. I had no idea what I was doing, to be honest with you. I still don't really know what I'm doing.
Those are the best projects.
Yeah, like I guess I call myself the general contractor on the job. Like I'm the owner. Like when people call me and they're talking to me about quotes and measurements, I'm like, yeah, no problem. Like that's what it says in the plans. Okay, yeah, like whatever it says, So I got my hands on this property. It was full of trees. It looked like a bush. I remember I brought my dad there. We went for a drive up to Innisfil, and he's like, "You're nuts." He's like, "You're out of your mind." He's like, "You're gonna ruin your life." And then when he seen the house there, actually last week, he's like, "I think it was one of the best things you ever did."
This is crazy. You're how old again?
I just turned 24.
24.
I just turned 24.
This is crazy inspirational, man. That you just dove head into this project.
That's
and
what
took everything on, and you're the guy. You just told me you made 20 phone calls at least before getting here.
Before getting here,
crazy,
yeah.
right?
Like now we were at the stage where the house is being drywalled, so we're pretty close to being done. It's like a 2,000 square foot home, and hopefully the market is still really healthy when I decide to sell.
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, so we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
Awesome,
If all goes well, then I think it's something that I'm gonna keep doing for sure. I enjoy it.
So we've got stocks, we've got real estate, we've got a bit of a branding idea going on too.
Yeah.
Talk us about your brand and what you have going on right now, how it how this whole idea came to be, and where you want to really take it, right?
Yeah, the AnthonySimas.com stuff. It never had anything to do with real estate. Never had anything to do with the stock trading stuff that I do. It was all just like I felt I had a story to tell, and I thought maybe people would want to hear it. And not only that, like I was able to take myself out of one of the darkest places, like darkest times in my life, and I thought maybe I can be that light, for other people.
For sure.
Sorry.
No, and it's I think the idea is the right one. Making sure that other people understand that life is shitty sometimes, but you don't have to stay mentally in that mood, right? In that state of mind. You can change, you can evolve.
Yeah,
right?
so I started kind of voluntarily sharing my story. I had no idea what to say. I didn't really know what I was doing, to be honest. But I was getting really good feedback from these kids, from students and people that were hearing me talk. And this one time I had this kid come up to me when I was working out one day in the gym, and he was someone that messaged me kind of a little while back when I kind of first started out, and he was talking to me about like some mental health issues that he was dealing with depression and anxiety, both two things that I had to deal with personally after my accident. And I was just kind of talking to him and told him how I got through them, and like life it's not that bad, like I don't think we were put here to suffer like that. Doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Some people do,
it's all about choices.
Oh my
right?
God, I hate my life. And people do that every day and in a rush. And you know what I mean? I don't understand why. I don't know why people do that. But like, I think life was meant to be lived, fully, like regardless of what your situation is, wheelchair, walking, crawling, like I don't care, like if I was able to persevere, then why can't somebody else,
Exactly.
And that's why I share my story.
So you built yourself the Anthony Simas brand.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is the motivational speaking part. That's the one that you want to really push out a little bit more.
Yeah, that's one thing like that I love doing. Like it feels so good to like go out and do a talk, and then like people feel moved. You know what I mean? Like I feed off of that.
Yeah.
Energy. Like that's what keeps me like wanting to do what I do. Like I don't like to call myself like a motivational speaker, like I don't like to call myself that, but like just from sharing and telling people like doing what I do.
It's about sharing the story, right?
It's motivational for people.
Yeah.
And like it feels good like to help push someone to their potential.
Yeah, I mean, I think the ultimate goal for us as human beings is if we can share a story or share a thought, and that actually helps somebody on the other side. I think that's the goal at the end of the day.
Yeah,
to be able to help your fellow human being, right?
Yeah, it's like, we're all only here. We're all only here temporarily. You know what I mean? Like we're only here once. And one thing I learned with having my spinal cord injury is that like certain things that I didn't get to experience before, I probably never will, or not the same way that I thought it would be. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I want to take advantage of every good opportunity in front of me. I'd rather fail, like knowing I tried, than not trying at all. Because then you don't know what those outcomes could have been, right?
Love the message, man. Anything else you want to, spread out to our audience? Anything that you wanted to, any message or anything, really?
Yeah.
Mike's yours.
Yeah. If anyone's watching the podcast, if anyone's going through a hard time, I know it sucks, and I know it feels like, the end of the world, and you got to pull yourself out of it. Like you got to be there for you sometimes at the end of the day and make things better for yourself. Like I'm not special. There's nothing special about me. It's just, I got sick and tired of like living in pain and being depressed and it's not a way to live a life, you know?
Yeah.
You know how, like, you ever hear, like, someone say, like, life is so short, like,
It is.
life is long as hell. Like, if you're living every day and, like, moping around and mourning, it's like your days just kind of, like, drag on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, if you live happy, and, like, thinking positive is so powerful. You know, if you want something bad enough, like, you can achieve it, you know what I mean? Like,
100%.
yeah, like someone like a Michael Jordan or like a LeBron James, Steve Jobs, really successful people didn't get to where they are now or where they were in the matter of months, not even the matter of years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It takes time.
It's a process.
Yeah, life's a process.
Anthony, thank you so much for being here. Really
Thank
appreciate
you. Thanks for having me, man.
it.
I appreciate it.
All right. And for all you guys listening or watching us, don't forget to smash and hit that subscribe button. You know what you have to do. You know you have to do it. And click that like as well, and leave good comments, and let us know what you thought about this episode. And if you have any ideas for the next ones, let me know. I mean, we're always welcoming good ideas. And that's it. Catch you guys on the next one.
Artlist.io